Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video. I hope you're all doing really well and you're having a lovely week wherever you are. Today's video is going to be me chatting to you about my running routine and kind of the training process for completing my first marathon, which I did last month in April. It was an amazing experience and I absolutely love talking about running, and I know so many of you do as well. So yeah, really excited to film this for you today. I put a Q&A box on my Instagram a couple of days ago because I wanted to make sure that I was covering all the things that you guys want to know. So I've been through the questions and kind of grouped the similar topics together, and hopefully it covers the majority. I do just want to caveat that I am by no means an athlete or had any kind of professional training. I'm not a PT or a nutritionist, so please don't take anything that I say as like factual advice. This is just going to be my experience and things that I kind of learned along the way. So many useful websites out there for marathon training and like pre and post marathon tips, so I'll definitely leave those linked down below as well. But yeah, without further ado, let's get on with the video. I'm wearing a really running themed outfit today, which I'm really enjoying. I've actually got on this cream activewear set from H&M. It's in a really nice rib material, and then this linen blend blazer over the top from H&M. You can't see, but I've actually got the matching cycling shorts on as well, which is really cute. But yeah, I'll leave this all linked below. Okay, so a lot of you were quite interested to know how I started running initially. When I was younger, I was definitely into sport, but mainly into swimming. I swam from quite a young age, and I feel like this did give me a really base kind of level of fitness, and it was also really good for stamina, which is definitely what you need for long distance running. I'd say I started running consistently at around age 20, so 6.5 years ago now. I think the main thing that drew me to running initially is just how convenient it is, and still to this day I love the fact that I can just decide I want to go for a run right now, and 5 minutes later I can be out the door and on my run. Especially if you have a busy job, I just think it is one of the most kind of efficient sources of exercise. And over time it's definitely become more about how running makes me feel in general. It makes me feel really physically fit, it helps me clear my mind, de-stress. I love the fact that it's like outdoors in the fresh air. I think that's so great for your mental health. So yeah, gradually over time, just started kind of increasing the distance and going out for runs a little bit more consistently. I think if you are kind of struggling to stay consistent with running and it's something that you enjoy and really want to do, I think signing up for races is a really great way to stay focused. It definitely helped me. If you have like a goal in mind or a race day, it's just something to kind of focus on. It gives you that little extra push to get out for a run. So yeah, that is a quick overview of how I got into running. Now I'll move on to my training pre-marathon and during the marathon training. So I'd say that my running routine pre-marathon was about 3 runs per week plus at least 1 Barry's or another weight session. So yeah, I would by no means say that I am like a running fanatic. I know there's people that go out for runs every day and I think that is incredible. I would love to be one of those people. That's what I would say. It was a consistent kind of running routine. Obviously there'd be some weeks where I could fit more in and other weeks where work was just absolutely crazy and I did nothing. But yeah, just to give you a little bit of an idea. I wouldn't say that this routine changed massively, if at all, during the marathon training, and that's being completely honest. Even though the frequency of the runs was probably pretty similar, I'd say the mileage was significantly increased. I did follow a training plan for the marathon. It was a 12-week training plan, which I'll leave linked down below. I actually started my marathon training, I think, the first week of January, and the marathon was like the first week of April, so I think I did have an extra week of contingency built in, which I was really grateful for, because I did have a couple of holidays in that period, which I was quite worried about going into the training plan. The plan basically suggests that you do 4 runs per week, 3 of which are kind of like shorter training runs, and the 4th which is a long run at the weekend. And it also suggests that you do 1 cross training day, which I took to mean like another cardio / HIIT session, and then 2 rest days. The plan I used started with a 10-kilometer run as the long run at the weekend. So if you are a complete beginner with running, you may need to use a slightly longer training plan, but there definitely is longer training plans out there. I will be completely honest and say I definitely didn't stick to this plan 100%. As I was saying before, the midweek runs are really difficult to commit to, especially if you are like me and you work in finance or a busy industry where work can be a little bit unpredictable. It is really, really difficult to kind of block out that time and make sure the midweek runs are done. But what I would say is that I 110% stuck to those long weekend runs, definitely pushing up the distance and seeing improvements every single week. This actually took a lot of discipline and sacrifice that I probably didn't appreciate going into the marathon training initially, because if you think about it, for basically 12 weeks, if you are kind of going out at the weekend with your friends, you're not getting drunk, you're probably not staying out that late because you know that you're probably going to have to run at 20k in the morning. There was times where I was going to London for an Opoly event and I had to get up super early and run like a half marathon before getting the train to London. There was times where I went on holiday skiing. It was high altitude, it was absolutely freezing, and I was still going out and getting it done. So yeah, that is one thing I would say, that if you are going to go into this, you do need to be prepared to kind of make sacrifices, and yeah, be prepared for absolutely horrendous weather, be prepared to be hungover, and you just have no choice but to get out and get it done. I'll try and insert some videos from our training plan, but there was some days where it was absolutely horrendous weather where you wouldn't even go outside to get a coffee, never mind run a half marathon. But yeah, just got to be done. If you are like me and you're someone who has a really busy job and lifestyle and you're worried that you might not be able to commit to the midweek runs, then I really wouldn't let that put you off, especially if you already have a good base level of fitness, and if you're prepared to put 110% into those long runs at the weekend and keep pushing the distance up every week, then I'm really sure that you'll be able to do it. Longest run in my training plan was a 34-kilometer run. I was actually ill a couple of days before I did this longest run, and I probably didn't have my energy levels back up to where they should have been. I made it to around 30 kilometers, I think, so with 4 left to go, and it honestly just felt like my body just wanted to stop. My legs were hardly moving, I wanted to cry. Yeah, it just was a really horrible negative experience. I did manage to kind of hobble the last 4 kilometers, but yeah, after that run I decided I never ever want to feel like that again, and it definitely influenced my kind of strategy going into the marathon. Yeah, after that 34-kilometer run I actually decided I definitely wanted to run the marathon on my own. Previously all my training I had done with Ollie, but I just kind of decided that it was a really kind of personal experience, and that I wanted to run at a much slower pace than my training. Priority just became about making sure that I complete the marathon and making sure that I came away from it feeling like it was a really enjoyable experience, and I felt like the biggest risk to that not happening was to start too fast and to hit the wall. Okay, so moving on to tips for the week before. Sleep is so important. I think I definitely underestimated how powerful this is, but the week before I was getting really good sleep. Honestly, I think this made the biggest difference to my energy levels for the marathon. I felt like I had so much power and energy, and I definitely put that down to good quality sleep for the few nights before the marathon. And on carb loading, so I started carb loading in the 48-hour to 24-hour kind of window. I was still eating foods that I normally eat. I think at that point it could be quite risky to start introducing new foods. So although I did fancy a really big Chinese takeaway, it's not something that I normally eat, so I kind of steered away from it. My main carb loading meals were actually like filled pasta with salmon and pesto, similar to what I normally eat anyway, but I would say I was increasing the carb portion by like a half. The day before I went for a big Nando's at lunch. Nando's is my go-to like takeaway, so yeah, just had a really big Nando's, and that was at the lunchtime, and then just had the same tea that I'd had the night before again in the evening. So nothing like crazy heavy the evening before, because you don't want to feel too full and heavy, but you also want to make sure that you've got enough kind of carb source in there. Okay, so then on the actual marathon day, as I said before, I did decide to run the marathon alone. Ollie just wanted to run it at the consistent pace that we've been training for, which is absolutely fine, and if that works for you, then great. But what I wanted to do was start quite a bit slower, get to the halfway point, and then see how I feel in terms of pushing on for the second half. This approach really worked for me, and it was an incredible experience. I had the best day. I think my first half marathon I ran in about 1 hour 57, and the second half I actually ran a PB in the second half, which is absolutely crazy. I think that was 1 hour 41. So yeah, I was so glad that I'd done it in that way. When I reached the halfway point, I actually felt like I'd conserved so much energy. So in that second half, I really did have the energy to kind of push on, and it was great. Funnily enough, I actually bumped into Ollie on like the last 7 kilometers, I want to say, and we did actually cross the finish line at the same time, which is really cringy but cute, and it just kind of topped off what was an amazing experience. The atmosphere is just unbelievable. I don't know if this is special to Manchester. I think everyone says the Manchester Marathon is one of the best. Everyone is just out on the streets, there's kids handing sweets out. It is just an unbelievable atmosphere, people just cheering on random strangers. Yeah, don't underestimate the power of the crowd. They will definitely help you get through it on the day. One thing I will say about the day though is that I made a massive schoolboy error. When I got to about the 10-mile mark, I really started to feel pain in my feet. Basically the socks that I'd worn I had never worn before, and I'd worn them for the first time that day. big mistake to make. And if I could say one thing to anyone watching this who is training for a marathon, is just do not change anything about your outfit on the day. The socks were kind of too low, so the back of my trainers started to rub against my heel, and it was just the worst pain. I honestly at one point thought I wasn't going to be able to complete the marathon and that I'd have to stop, but after a while, and I think this is literally just the endorphins, I just stopped feeling the pain. Yeah, just don't change anything on the day. I know everyone says it, but it is so true. If you were asking kind of how I felt afterwards, I would describe the feeling as like ecstatic. It was just amazing. Your body almost can't believe that you've stopped running. It's really strange. Our friends were actually at the finish line and they threw sweets over to us, and it was just the best feeling ever. I'd say very quickly it took a bit of a turn, and we just realized like how stiff like our legs were, and we had to sit down. The actual top of my back was really sore, really not sure why that is, and obviously my legs. Made sure to get so much rest the week after, and I pretty much just ate whatever I wanted to. I think I had a Rudy's, then a Nando's, like just consistently eating whatever I want for a week, because I feel like at that point your body just deserves to be refueled. It took me about 4 days to feel kind of normal in my body again, but I'd say I was still kind of resting and making sure to get good sleep for like a week afterwards. I think my main source of exercise during that week was probably just kind of brisk walks, which I think they do recommend to kind of get everything moving again. But yeah, I probably wasn't doing any big runs or kind of HIIT training for getting on for a week afterwards. So a lot of the questions were around kind of marathon tips and anything that I wish I knew before, or any kind of real challenges I had, which I think maybe I've probably already covered, but I'll give you a little summary now. As I said before, I definitely say to not be too hard on yourself and missing like the midweek training runs. I think if you are definitely increasing your mileage every week and you're definitely doing that long run at the weekend, then you will see progress, and I think you will get there. Do not underestimate how important sleep and recovery is. I'd say that the sleep thing made the biggest difference to me in the week before the marathon. Definitely don't change anything on the day. Definitely don't put new socks on. Just don't be that gal. I'll actually leave my trainers link down below as well, because a lot of the questions were about what trainers I used. Absolutely swear by my Nike Vaporfly. The second person in the marathon was wearing like Vaporflies or Alpha Fly. So yeah, I will leave them linked down below. And the other tip that I would say is definitely to get a running vest, and also some of the kind of energy gels. I think the ones we used were called Cis gels, and they were really good, especially for when you go out on a long run and you can take like your water and your gels like in your pockets of the vest. This is just really helpful to kind of keep energy levels up when you're running such a long way. I think I was having one of those maybe every 40 minutes to an hour. I was like, okay, once I've done like another 5k, I'll have another sip of an energy gel. It just helps you to play like these little mental games. It can kind of get you to that next milestone where you'll have a bit of a gel, have a little bit of water. Yeah, I found that really helpful. If you were asking if I would do another one, this is quite a difficult question because I had such an amazing experience. So many of my friends came to cheer me on, bumped into Ollie, like got an amazing time that was beyond my like wildest expectations. And I do have a little bit of fear that if I ever signed up for another one, that maybe I would put a little bit too much pressure on myself to kind of beat my time, or it would just kind of take the enjoyment out of it. But yeah, I wouldn't rule it out, never say never. There was actually a marathon the same weekend in Paris. One of Ollie's friends did it, which looked incredible. So yeah, maybe doing one in a different location would be a good idea. I would definitely say that if you are a complete beginner with running, the best thing to do is just to start slow and do a combination of walking and running. My mum is actually quite a beginner runner, so I actually went with her on a little kind of beginner's run. Basically, we just did walk for a minute, run for a minute, and then basically over time, all you need to do is try and increase the time that you are running for. So you might start off at 30 seconds, you might start off at a minute, then maybe just increasing it at 30-second intervals until you get to a position where you might be able to run a full kilometre, then you could run for a kilometre and walk for a kilometre. Yeah, just building up nice and slow that way. That's how you're gonna kind of prevent injury and also just get more enjoyment out of it. Running doesn't have to always be about pushing yourself to the absolute limit. I definitely say that consistency is so much more important than speed or duration. If you go out for a run, it could be the worst run you've ever had, but it's always going to be better than the run that you didn't do. Even now, I have days where I go out for a run and I can't run for longer than 5 minutes. It just happens. It's a part of running. There'll be no specific reason for it. It is just what it is. I'd also say another tip for beginners and kind of keeping motivation is to sign up to a run club or to try running with a friend. Run clubs are just a great little community vibe. It's similar to park run. Park run is incredible if you're a beginner as well. You kind of just block that time out, 9 AM on a Saturday morning, just go out and get it done. every week you will see improvements really quickly. You were also asking about tips to improve speed and tips for when you're kind of stuck in a plateau in terms of speed or distance. I'd definitely say that having a goal in mind really helps with this. Now that I've ticked off the marathon, my next goal is trying to do a 5k in under 20 minutes. This just really helps me. So when I'm thinking about whether to go for a run, I always have this in the back of my mind as a little bit of motivation. The second thing I'd say is definitely to try a treadmill HIIT class if you can. I go to Barry's and that has been incredible for improving my speed. You do kind of sprints and incline sprints, and it's just really good having the trainer there to push you on. Also say that treadmill sprints at the gym work just as well. I do both of these. If you just kind of do 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, and if you can, just try and increase the time that you're sprinting for. Another thing I'd say for speed is also park run. I just love that it's like outside and it's the same course every week, because once you get to know the course, you do have that confidence to go a little bit faster every time because you kind of know the route, you know where you're going, no interruptions with like traffic and stuff, so you should be able to get a really good time. So yeah, try and go to a flat park run course though, that always helps. There was lots of questions about kind of tips for beginners and tips for staying motivated. And then I think a lot of you have signed up to run half marathons, which is amazing because there were so many questions about half marathon tips. The same tips as for the marathon really. I'd recommend starting slow. I didn't follow a training plan for my half marathon training, but I'm sure there's some amazing ones out there. But I was just told that if you can run 10 miles, you can run a half marathon. Running the half marathon again in Manchester was an amazing experience. The crowd was incredible, so I'm sure you will all smash it. Definitely try and enjoy it. I think that's the most important thing when you're doing a distance like a half marathon or a marathon. It's such an achievement to even kind of get to the start line and then to finish it. So yeah, just try and enjoy every second that you can. I think I'll close off the video here because I feel like I've been rambling on for so long. But yeah, I really hope this video was useful and it answered some of your questions. If you are thinking of running a marathon or if you've signed up for one and are training, then I hope this answered some of your questions. And if you've got a race coming up, then I wish you the best of luck, and yeah, just really try to enjoy it. If there's anything else, then please just leave me a comment below and I will get back to you. I'll leave my outfit link below, also my trainers and my training plan. Yeah, if there's anything else, just let me know. But yeah, thank you so much for watching guys, and hope to see you in my next video. Bye!